I'm getting tired of these watermelon people calling black people all kinds of things. This watermelon sister took to social media and came out and said that black people are basically just ignorant. She beats around the bush and makes a lot of turns, but eventually comes to this conclusion. She says that they are ignorant about the policies of the people that they elect into office, and that is the reason why everything has been going on the way it has been going on. And she also goes on and says that black people are actually entitled, but they don't realize it. A privilege that she goes on to explain that they're so entitled to the point that they don't realize that they've also contributed to the unaliving of her people simply because they're trying to earn an income. I know that's a whole lot of boo, but you might want to sit back for this one and try to relax as you get to hear out her point, because it might just want to get you a little bit roused up, if you know what I mean. Let me play you her video so that you can hear what she said and what people had to say about it.
Particularly those who've never been to America and have never lived a day in the average American.
Hi, Jordy. I just saw your response to Rasul's take, and you seemed very offended by it, and I'm just curious as to why. I think you missed the whole point of what she was talking about, and you focused solely on just the race aspect. She's talking about Americans. And then you go off to say, like, if you don't live in America, you don't know the lived experience. Okay, I'm Iraqi. I came to America 6 years ago solely for just education, because that's the least y'all could do to, I don't know, give me some sort of compensation for displacing my family, displacing me, displacing millions of others from my homeland. So the least y'all could do is give me education. And with my time being in America, I've been affected both by Republican and Democratic policies. And I am not a U.S. citizen. I cannot vote. So unfortunately, whoever you bring into office, I'm affected, and millions of others that are not citizens in this country are also affected. And in my time in Iraq during the American occupation in my land, I saw all sorts of races with the American flag and a camouflage and boots entering into our home uninvited all the time. And when I came to America and I started learning more about the systems and how you guys operate and why people join the military, I found out that the government coerces you to join the military, especially those that are in low-income areas, to join the military in order to have some sort of socioeconomic condition better for them, whether it's school, whether it's finances or healthcare. So basically, you guys join the military to kill my people, displace our people, in order to have school healthcare. And I can also remember a time where Obama, during the Obama administration, although he pulled out of Iraq, he then invaded Syria, continued Afghanistan, invaded Libya and Yemen. And the list goes on. So Jordy, I just want to tell you that you're very privileged to say all these things. While we both live in America, we have both different lived experiences. While you're an American citizen, I'm not. And I've suffered a lot through the administration, through the Republican administration and the Democratic administration. And I can solely tell you right now, it still affects my life. On October 8th of 2023, my parents were banned from entering the US for 5 years just because their passport says they were born in Iraq. And for context, my parents have came to the US at least 5 times to visit me, their daughter. Now I cannot see them anymore, and it is very hard to travel back and forth to go see them. And this is all thanks to the leaders that you elect and the way that you guys don't even look at the policies that they enact. I can clearly remember back in 2020, the talking point was, oh, Trump is going to ban all these immigrants. Trump is going to cage all these immigrants. You guys don't even understand that Biden actually took that policy that Trump put in and continued it. Now the talking point is back again to Trump. Oh, he's going to be a dictator. He's going to be a dictator. While not even understanding that both parties are dictators. One has a smile on their face and one doesn't. And if you want to speak about the Black community here in America, please learn about the Deadly Exchange program. This is the same program that is killing innocent Black and brown people here in America. And while you're totally offended by her saying that Americans are complicit, I can't agree anymore, because you are all complicit. I don't know what to tell you. If that offends you, please see the bigger picture, Jordy. And did you even take a look at her profile? Did you even take a look at what she does on her Instagram? Jordy, she has raised mutual aid. She has She has helped refugees that are displaced in her community find homes. Jordy, she is a displaced person herself. I am a displaced person myself. My family are displaced people themselves. So this whole take of you have to be in America to actually know the lived experience, I'm here and I'm telling you it. I'm literally telling you it. My parents are banned from entering this goddamn country. You probably don't even know this, but after October 7th, the Biden administration, the Biden and Harris administration did a last minute immigration policy change. So anyone from the Swana region, even if their birth of place coming in, even if they are a dual citizen, their birth of place from the Swana region coming into America, they are on an automatic ban and suspicion. Literally, my parents were detained for 13 hours. 13 hours under the suspicion of terrorism. And all they had in their luggage was gifts for me to congratulate me on just graduating from my Master's of Architecture.
The discord being sown on this app is giving major CIA inside job vibes. There's nothing more threatening to empire than Black, brown, Jewish, trans, all the things, solidarity. Building coalition is our only path toward collective liberation. There's a lot of work ahead. Please don't get distracted.
Okay, I'm going to try and tell this story as quickly as possible. So, number one, there was this creator by the name of Rosal who put out a video where she's screaming and hollering and crying into the camera, and she's telling us just how sick she is of African Americans who are calling out pro-Palestinians for their anti-blackness right now on this app. She's really sick of us not understanding that we are all America. We are part of America, even if we see ourselves as a minority within the United States that has a different claim on how we live here than other Americans. She doesn't see it. She doesn't care about it. She's tired of hearing about it. We are all complicit. She saw people that look like us, including African Americans, wearing the American uniform and doing bad things to people in other parts of the world. Okay. So then Jordy enters the chat. He's the one who makes this second video, and he starts with empathy. He says, I am so sorry that you are hurting. And I just want you to know that it can really come off as very insulting, the way that you are talking to us, like saying things that we're so whack, we're so stupid, she's sick and tired of us and all that. He just basically says that can come off as really dismissive of our own struggle that we are fighting with. And our own struggle includes things like the fact that within 20 years, we're estimated to have a net worth of 0 as a people in the United States. So we are actually racing towards re-enslaving ourselves in the United States. And that's because of policies. So then this young lady enters the chat. She's in the country right now. She's in the United States. And she says, well, you can't talk to me like I'm not in the United States and I don't understand because I've been here for 6 years. And in those 6 years, she's been getting a free education from the United States because of our policies. Now that policy is predicated on the fact that she's Iraqi, and in her country, the United States did bad things, and as kind of a payoff, they are giving them education for free in a country where African Americans are walking around with a disproportionate amount of college loan debt, which is actually impacting our wealth and our ability to have the standing in the country that we've been fighting for forever. So it's one of many policies that inform our portfolio of laws and policies that we care about that would make life different for us, make a material difference for us in our lives. The real kind of thing that rubbed me the wrong way about her approach and her attack is she had the same thing that I'm getting used to hearing now. It is the white adjacent pro-Palestinian anti-black voice. And in this voice, they talk from up here at you, down at you, and they look down their nose to tell you how uneducated you are, how ignorant. She starts by saying, Jordy, you missed the whole point. Well, you got to be pretty stupid to miss the whole point of a video that he just made a response to, showing his level of intelligence that he didn't miss the point. But anyways, she goes on to say, you vote for people that you don't even know what their policies are. You vote for people and you don't even read the policies that they have. And oh, by the way, if it's so much about blackness, why don't you look into these programs that I know about that you don't know about that are actually harming black people more than anyone else? So this is so tiring. because we had a whole ass thing called the Black Lives Matter movement that raised awareness among all communities globally, not just in the United States, to come here and pretend, number one, like we're not special. We don't have any additional claim on our standing within the United States that makes us different than the other Americans. You would have had to be pretty stupid to not pay attention to the last 8 years or so of our global organizing and our movement that even came to Palestine, right? So you're missing the boat if you think, well, all Americans are the same. You're just all complicit and whatnot. You missed this whole thing called the Black Lives Matter movement. And I don't know how you did that. It actually would take talent to have missed that because it was global and it was all around the world. And it was coalitional. It was not screaming at each other on TikTok.
Discord being sown on this app is giving major CIA inside job vibes.
The CIA wouldn't have anything to psyops with if it wasn't there. Okay? It's the anti-blackness that's there, that's not being addressed, that's not being handled, deconstructed, dismantled, is there. So the CIA has something to utilize, the psyops. And it's not up to black people to address that. It's up to y'all. And calling out the CIA without addressing your community, giving them something to psyops with, is literally counterproductive. Because if we're supposed to be fighting a common enemy, right, that's harming people, and there's people in your faction punching black people, how can we fight effectively? The anti-blackness is harming us. So how can we fight against this common enemy if the same time I'm punching, you punching, but you punching me in my arm? Can my arm work effectively to punch the enemy? No. So if you want to effectively fight, you're going to have to convince the people in your camp to stop punching black people with the anti-blackness, okay? That's how that works. And then when you address that shit, the CIA don't got nothing to psyops with. And this whole transactional shit, people keep talking about, oh, it's not transactional, it's not transactional. Asking somebody to stop hitting you, stop doing something harmful to you is not a transaction, okay? Saying, hey, I can't fight effectively if you throwing anti-blackness at me. If you hit me, I can't fight. I can't fully fight. If there's people in your faction that's hitting me, you need to gather the people that are hitting so that we can effectively fight. It's simple as that. It's not a transaction to say, hey, stop striking me with anti-blackness. I need to fight effectively. If you want me to fight effectively, unless you don't want to, what do you want? You want to gain your liberation while you're still stepping on black people. It's not going to work. Gather the people in your camp that has anti-blackness, and then we can fight effectively. And the CIA will have nothing to eat to psyops anything.
The brother did mention about the fact that she is quite ignorant about the Black Lives Matter movement that garnered quite significant attention all over the globe. Now, I just want to point out that she wasn't ignorant. She simply just didn't care about it because it involved black people and nothing else. Because I talked about this in like 2 separate videos where these watermelon people actually have this palm color entitlement because of the societies that they come from. Because you do understand the history of Islam, the history of these watermelon countries and how they were formed. They were formed on a basis of slavery, the enslavement of black people. And it is because of these societies that created a hierarchical structure that places them significantly above or higher than the darker or melanated individuals. And that's where she comes from. And throughout our culture, she's been taught that she deserves the entitlement and the privilege more than those enslaved people or more than those less privileged people from her communities. So anything that has to do with them, even if it's a Black Lives Matter movement, she's pretty much going to be ignorant about it because she comes from a history, a culture in the background that has placed significance on her color and less on theirs. I hope you understand the context of what I'm driving at here, because I don't want you to lose track of this discussion. And in another video, we did talk about an auntie who came online and said, I told you so, that we shouldn't be in solidarity with these people because they're simply pretentious, if you may put it, right? She simply understands the historical legacy and the culture and the background of their religion and why it was spread so vast all over the world, right? And that is the reason why some people were saying that if you knew the history of some of these religions, you wouldn't partake in it, you wouldn't be in solidarity with it. Hence led us to that conclusion of, if the colonizers are fighting, right, 2 separate slave masters are fighting, you and I shouldn't involve ourselves in it. So she comes from a legacy of enslavement. She is the slave master's daughter. So what are you gonna tell her about that when she views you as a slave? Because in her community, you gotta understand that black people are there in her community, like darker skinned. Even in India, they are there. And even though they are also part of the Indian or the Arab heritage, they are treated different. So if she's able to treat different the people that are part of her community and have been part of our community for generations, What about you and I? Now, let's get into the perspective or the stereotype of ignorance among us, people of African descent. Not saying that we are, but why do some races view us as ignorant? So let's look at the historical context. So during the era of slavery and colonialism, not just slavery, but also colonialism that took place in indigenous lands in Africa as well, black people were often portrayed as inferior to justify their exploitation and oppression. Simply put it, that you and I were quite literally just taken as less in cognitive function, if you may put it. Now, these false narratives were perpetuated to maintain social and economic hierarchies. So there's another reason, like for many years, media has also played a significant role in reinforcing this negative stereotype. Black characters in movies, TV shows, and news reports often have been depicted in a negative light, right, when it comes to black people, which influences public perception. So I'm talking about that movie that you watched depicting that funny black guy who seems to be ignorant about everything, and you and I were laughing about it. We didn't know that it was actually just reinforcing this stereotype of you and I being prevalently ignorant. Not saying that it's true, but that's that. And the other thing is systemic barriers in education, such as underfunded schools in predominantly black neighborhoods. These have also contributed to disparities in educational attainment. Now, these inequalities are often misinterpreted as a lack of ability or motivation rather than a result of structural issues. So you know that in our communities and cultures, there's always this thing whereby you fail to perform better in education simply because you're not attaining that right education that you need, right? You fail to perform accordingly. So there's that as well. Now, economic disparities, including higher rates of poverty and unemployment among us black people and black communities, are often used to perpetuate stereotypes. Now, these disparities are the result of long-standing systemic discrimination in housing, employment, and other areas. And it is this part right here that makes these guys treat us Africans different as well. Because there are a lot in our communities, and I'm talking about a lot. They've got businesses and that. And the way they talk to their customers if they are black, I mean, like, as if they don't want to sell anything to you. Like, they don't care if you are there buying or not. That's how they treat us in our own countries. And that is the reason why even in 2017, they conducted this slave trade. Like, just think about it. In 2017, they were selling black people in Africa. So do you think they have some sort of compassion or solidarity towards us? I don't think so, but you tell me. Now, the last part is, many people hold unconscious biases that affect their perceptions and interactions with others, such as this sister. Now, this is something that is inside the subconscious, and she's not realizing it, because she speaks as if she knows that that brother was ignorant, right? So these biases can lead to discriminatory behavior and reinforce negative stereotypes. I think I've come to the point where I'll say that I've done my best not to portray anybody as the bad guy, but to educate us, like, on some of the things that could be going through her mind as she's saying this, and not just her, but some of our sisters and brothers as well. But you tell me in the comment section on what you think about this discussion that we had. I'll see you in the next video. Signing off for now. Take care.